Silicon Valley, California. This is Spiritual Fitness with your host, Vaisheshika Prabhu, a veteran Bhakti yogi, former monk and author, and myself, JM. Spiritual Fitness is focused on exploring the timeless text and practices of Bhakti Yoga that bring happiness and wisdom in your life. Good afternoon, Vaisheshika Prabhu. Welcome to the show.
Well, good afternoon, JM. Good to see you as usual. And good to see all of you who have joined us today. It's so nice to have some time together to explore the depths of our own consciousness, or at least take a peek. So today we're going to enter into a conversation about tuning our ears to sound. And in the research that I've been doing about sound, there are two phrases which I juxtaposed in the title for today's discussion, which I'd like to explain to you a little bit. Many, many years ago, I met a teacher in India who was a great thinker and a poet and so forth, and he introduced me to the concept of defective sound. And this idea of defective sound really intrigued me. And in recent writings, I was looking for an antonym for defective. And as I was searching my brain, I was deficient in finding one that fit perfectly. So I went to my trusty etymological dictionary. And there, the authors have gone to great lengths to go into the history of certain words, tracing them back to their roots and so forth. In any case, I still hadn't found the perfect opposite to defective, but just in sort of playing around, I put in the word perfect, and then I was thinking, well, defective, perfective, well, that's not a word, but I put it in, and lo and behold, it is a word. It's just not current, and not a current word. It's a slightly archaic. Nonetheless, it's the perfect counterpart or synonym, rather, to, or I should say antonym, to defective. And the words actually, the facere, from the Latin, which means to place something or to move in a certain direction. And according to the prefix D, which has a lot of history, when you put that on defect, it means you're moving in the wrong direction. You're investing in the wrong things. You're putting yourself into the wrong places. And perfective means the opposite. It's a cultivation or a process that you're applying yourself to that is bringing you to a higher destination or to your cherished goal. So obviously there's implications to this, that if I'm doing something defective, I'm going in the wrong direction and it's not going to be pleasing. So one of the ideas of fitness is there is a fit state and there's a non-fit state. So when we talk about spiritual fitness, going back to the ancient wisdom text called the Vedas, oldest book on earth is called the Rig Veda, thousands of years old, and there's the concept of Nada Brahman or Shabda Brahman, and it's very much in tune, which may be a good use of the word in this context, with modern quantum physics theories about the ways in which everything around us is vibrational. Every particle in the universe, every cell in our body has a particular vibration. In fact, if you continue to break it down, you'll find that really everything's a vibration. It's held together by vibrational forces. This is consistent with the Vedic thought, at least for what's called Prakriti, or all the material forms we see around us. They all have a particular vibration that is in the physical field, a physical vibration. We, however, as conscious living beings, have a much higher vibration. And it's a vibration that is above the dimensions of this world. So, what is perfective sound? It's sound that, upon hearing, rearranges our goals in life. It sets us on a track or a journey that goes in the right direction. Now, there's a concept, Lao Tzu. Here's a quotation from the Chinese philosopher who said, "Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny." And in the practice of bhakti yoga, the way that one amends one's thoughts to begin with is by the sound he or she chooses, the sound we choose to listen to. And of course, many people talk about sound vibration and especially the science of listening. And listening implies that we're tuning into something more deliberately and listening. And also, in much of the research that's being done about sound nowadays, there's a concept of soundscapes. And that is that just as you'd make a landscape in your garden, wherever you live and whatever situation you're in, you should attend to the sound and make a soundscape that is favorable, that is perfective rather than defective. I like this because it's something we can do something about. And Bhakti Yoga teachings say this is the source, this is the beginning of all discipline. That is arranging our lives around this principle of finding perfective sound and making sure that we're in contact with it. And being very careful about taking in defective sound. Oftentimes, there are trends in the present culture that we're in for producing certain kinds of sounds, and we take it for granted that it's okay to listen to certain things, but maybe it's not. Maybe we should be more careful about what we take in because there's a consequence. The sound vibration itself, especially the words that are spoken and the intention with which they're spoken, will enter into our ears and into our mental system. And again, as the great Chinese philosopher told us, those will then lead from our thoughts to our words, to our actions, to our habits. And then our character is developed. And that's the direction we go. That becomes our destiny. So I'll say a few more things about this in a minute, but let's just experiment for a moment with some sound vibration. So if you're all tuned in, we'll listen to a few sounds, just some basic sounds, and we'd like to get some feedback from you, how they make you feel. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. JM is ready? Maybe close your eyes and listen. Here's your next sound. And now I'll add one more sound. And now we'll just check in to see if any of those sounds had a particular effect on you. Or were they all the same? Did they transport you anywhere? Or were there any feelings that came up when you heard the sounds? JM smiling like anything, so go ahead.
Go ahead, Mari. Okay, I was just going to say that when the sound came about, the first one, I was transported to the Muir Woods close by, where I was feeling myself in midst of trees, in midst of all the birds chirping around, and I was feeling calm, and maybe at some point feeling like maybe I'll sleep off soon. Same thing with the waves too. Maybe near ocean somewhere, some water body, waves or river. It was also calming. The last one, I was happy that it was short and not loud. Compared, the duration was shorter. It was not that long because it was jarring and it was not loud, so it was bearable kind of. That's what I felt. Otherwise, it would have been unbearable.
Okay. One of the main points is that there are various emotive qualities to sound. It also has a psychological effect on us. The sound we receive from our environment can cause fight or flight kinds of reactions. It's also proven that in certain environments where there's a lot of noise, certain kinds of animals like birds in extensive studies exposed to freeway noises become less productive. Their population goes way down. And it's very, even if they, in laboratory settings, they just introduced a slight frequency of traffic and so forth. What speak of humans who may be exposed to such things when they're in certain circumstances. Anybody else have a reaction to any of the sounds?
Yes, I would like to share. Hi, my name is Marisela.
Hey
In
there.
my case, same. For the first two sounds, my respiration was slow and I feel calm. But with the second one, I could feel how even my heart rate increased, right? And my respiration changed.
Yes, and this is very much consistent with research that's been done. Julian Treasure, who's done a lot of research lately, I've been reading some of his things for the book I'm writing, and the frequency of waves coming in and out mimics our own breath when we're breathing at a very slow, even, relaxed pace. So listening to waves come in and crash, there's a sense just like our breathing, and it tends to help calibrate us to the rhythms of the earth. Birds signal that things are okay. If birds are chirping, then it's okay. If the day is starting, everything sounds all right. Birds stopped singing altogether. Something's wrong with the environment. Anybody else? Any reactions? Just for fun.
Hi,
Hi,
this is,
Hey,
go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I thought that they were all very different sounds, but I liked all three of them. The first one just kind of peaceful. For some reason, the second one, which sounded to me like a river, just was peaceful, but it kind of made me kind of increase my posture, kind of maybe sit up a little more.
hmm.
And the third one was a didgeridoo, was it?
Actually, it was a large brass gong, like the
Oh,
Buddhist
okay.
gong that, yeah, like that.
Yeah, but I mean, it was radically different, but I still enjoy it a lot. I like that kind of vibrational sound.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. Again, there are various effects from various sounds. It's kind of going to the point that there are consequences to the kinds of sounds we hear. Somebody else, Christine, was going to say something.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that, the all three different sounds does have a little bit of effect to the mood. So, just like how GM was saying, right? Then first you will see the words, and then, it like Mari said, second one change your heartbeat and all that stuff. So overall, the sound, even the song that you pick on the radio, right? Depending on what song you pick, some make you think of your ex-boyfriend, some makes you want to have a divorce, right? So definitely the sound does change the mood. That's how I concluded for all these three sounds.
Well said. Thank you. That was very helpful. In fact, somebody just sent me a book to look at for my research, and it's called "Your Brain on Music," and it's written by a musicist who's also a researchist and is going into the various effects that different kinds of music have in clinical study upon people. Some make us sad. Some, if you're driving, you might be said you were driving under the influence of sound. Maybe you're a little too, you know, exuberant after hearing it and step on the pedal harder. So, first step is to be aware of the fact that sound does have effects on us. It's emotive, it has psychological effects, it has physical effects. And these are some of the bases for the process of bhakti. That sound is actually the center for, or the basic ingredient for transforming our consciousness and our lives in general. So that's just a theory to build on. And I'll just talk something incidental in that category that you might find interesting. And it has to do with what I'm calling, in a working title for one of the sections of my book, called The Necessity of Sound. And I started with a movie I remember from my childhood. It was from 1965, from an award-winning motion picture called Sound of Music with Julie Andrews. And in one of the opening scenes, she's singing a song. The hills are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 years. The hills fill my heart with the sound of music. My heart wants to sing every song it hears. And then if we go back to before 1927, when films were so-called silent, we see that there wasn't synchronized sound, no dialogue. It was all just subscripts that were written on the bottom of the screen. However, when I looked into it a little more deeply, all of these silent films actually were accompanied by music. There was either a pianist or an organist or an orchestra that would play along with the silent film, because people didn't care for just absolute silence and hearing their own breath while they're watching the film. It didn't have the same effect. Now let me take you to another place, which I may have mentioned before, but this is in context with this idea of the necessity of sound. There's a laboratory in Minneapolis, Minnesota, of all places, where they do a lot of recording. A lot of famous artists go there because they have first-class recording studios. But within that complex, they also built a soundless chamber. It's like a sound deprivation chamber. There's no sound at all. In fact, as most of you know, sound is measured in decibels. And in that chamber, there are negative decibels. So the investigative reporters who have gone there, I read several articles by various reporters, and the titles to their articles are very interesting and telling. They talk about the way in which one of them said, how I almost went crazy in 45 minutes in a soundless chamber, and the other one was similar. And there are stories of people going in the chamber and wanting out within 5-10 seconds. They can't tolerate it. 45 minutes is the maximum that anyone can last, but it's not comfortable. You can't hear yourself walking. You can't hear yourself speaking. And the purveyor of the laboratory, when he lets people in, which by the way is for a fee, Riley says to them, don't bother screaming for help because no one will hear you. So one of the reporters said that the chamber was disorienting. And the other one said that she panicked. When she went in, it wasn't that it was soundless. She heard lots of sounds, like sirens and various other sounds coming from her own mind that alarmed her, and she couldn't find a place to actually escape those within the chamber. All of the reporters who had gone there said that they had expected something different. They thought that a soundless chamber would very spontaneously or naturally produce peace. And of course, we have these phrases in our language, peace and quiet, and silence is golden. But one of the reporters ended her article by saying, in the end, the silence was too loud for me. So this is an interesting point that when you completely eliminate, or I mean, as much as physically possible, and that's what they've done there, all physical sound, we do feel out of place. So sounds play and have an integral part in our life, and the way that we form our thoughts, the way we feel from moment to moment. And therefore, the Bhakti Yoga scriptures talk about how to reform yourself through sound, how to improve yourself, how to perfect yourself through sound. And Yeah, a couple other anecdotes that go to this point about sound vibration. One of them is you may be aware that in the digital era, many of the recordings that people are fond of various kinds of music have been digitally mastered. And in the process, for instance, in Germany, there was a company that went about removing any extraneous sound from various pieces of music. For instance, a famous guitar piece, they would take out any man-made sounds and only include the notes. And the piece became what they said objectionable. People couldn't listen to it without the sounds of the musician's hands rubbing against the frets on the guitar, and other kinds of very subtle sounds that come as a natural consequence of just being in the environment as the musician is when he or she makes the music. Those are all taken into account by our brain, and they make a composite. So again, clinically reducing sound to almost nothing or taking out certain sounds that we're used to is consequential. So all this is going to this point about the consequence of sound. So what does that have to do with yoga? Well, the point is that we can engineer our own spheres of influence in our life by surrounding ourselves with sound, certain particular kinds of sound that are perfective. The sounds are meant to bring us to a higher dimension of awareness. They're meant to actually purify the internal thought processes that we're going through, while at the same time being careful that we don't expose ourselves mindlessly to all kinds of sounds that may be doing the opposite. So that's the basic premise, and it's a very simple premise that I will say in one sentence, and that is that the quality of the sound that we listen to will determine the quality of our lives. That's a pretty simple formula, isn't it? The quality of sounds that one listens to will determine the quality of his or her life. And so that, to me, moves into this idea of the circle of influence. There's a lot of things I can't control in the world, and they cause me a lot of anxiety if I go after them. But there is a very clear circle of influence that I can enter into, and that has to do with arranging to hear a higher quality of sound. In fact, my teacher used to say that the way to advance in yoga is to always put yourself in front of transcendental sound. Just make sure you're there. And that means you have to have a little forethought. You have to understand the theory or believe in it. It's a good idea to test it out for yourself and see that various sounds are consequential. And then experiment with what's being called transcendental sound, or sound that is metaphysical. It's beyond the physical world. And there's a lot to be said about what that is. But one of the easiest ways to do that is to test it along with other sounds and see what kind of difference it makes. And therefore, you have to become the laboratory. So we are kind of walking laboratories, and we can experiment on ourselves and see what kinds of effects certain kinds of environments and practices have. And this is a kind of exciting research that we can do on ourselves. Now I see that a comment came in from Vikas. He said, sorry for being late to join this one. Yes, the sound changes the brain waves. I listen to an Om Shanti sound to get sleep faster for the days when I'm not getting sleep. I have seen that if at that time when I start listening to the songs, my sleep goes away. So since you brought up Om Shanti, let's just see if there's any other questions or reflections before we go into some of the perfective sounds that bring us to a higher level of consciousness. What have you all to say about what I just said? Any reflection? Yes.
Oh, I was thinking about combining the bird noises we heard earlier and the talk about this sound deprivation chamber. I was
Yeah.
kind of thinking like sound, the birds and all that. It's kind of feels safe because when there's a predator around, there's no birds.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Something's gone wrong if they stop. And we judge, so much of our environment has to do with, or the way we navigate our environment has to do so much with the sound. And that's one of the reasons the investigative reporter from Sweden, who went into the sound chamber, said she was disoriented. She found out that it's very hard to walk when you don't hear where your you don't hear the sound of your footfall. It makes it difficult to do that. Incidentally, those who are born without a facility of hearing also have a difficult time learning to read. It's a whole different process than most people go through because, according to the research I just read, as children, we first hear the sound and then we identify it with the symbol on the page. And then we correlate those two. But if you can't hear the sound, then it's a very different process and it's a lot harder for those who are hearing impaired to learn to read in the same way that others do. And that's kind of indicative of the way that we take in sound through writing. And writing is really an abstraction of sound. It's just transposed into symbols and we look at it, but we're actually relating it back to the sounds that we've heard. Yes, thank you, BJ. That was really good. Let's hear if anybody else has any thoughts. Just churn the thoughts. What are you thinking about this conversation?
We do have a couple of comments from Facebook too.
Oh, let's hear the Facebook clan.
Kamala says that the water sound was beautiful. The Ganges flowing through.
What's that? I couldn't quite hear that.
Water sound was beautiful, like the Ganges flowing through.
Yes.
Also, Alina said the last sound really made us stressful as well.
Okay. Responding to the original recordings that we listened to. Okay, so the Elizabethans used to say that speech is decorated silence. So there's this point in which there's quietude, and I'm not talking about the chamber in Minneapolis. I'm just talking about not making all kinds of unnecessary extraneous sounds, but speech is meant to be meant to decorate the silence, meant to bring out something that's productive and that is perfective. So in the science of bhakti, the way that a realm is created is because of the quality of the sound vibration and the kinds of sounds that are passed down from antiquity through various practitioners who dedicate their lives to hearing particular sounds, especially mantras, and then transporting them to others who are living a similar lifestyle. The wholeness of the sound is maintained and it is imbibed by the student. This is what's called the parampara, or the system of passing down sound in its pristine state, so it's preserved. It's compared sometimes to a mango being picked from the top of the tree, and instead of just throwing it and having it hit the ground, you pass it from one hand to the next till it comes all the way to the bottom. So the system of passing down mantra is much like picking a mango and then passing it down. So one person hears it and imbibes it, practices it, and then passes it on to others so that they can also tune to the mantra. So it's not, at first we hear the mantra, it may seem inconsequential, although it's not, but the more we tune to the mantra and to the higher kinds of sound vibration, higher quality of sound vibration, the more we'll be able to take advantage of it. And then we'll see transformation. So that is one of the basic principles of yoga, is taking advantage of that kind of improvement and amendment of sound in our life. So now, mantra. Man means a mind, which has to do with our inner workings. The mind can be the best friend or the worst enemy. It gets conditioned by the environment, and it can act in aberrant ways that will be very disturbing, or which will lead us into habits that, again, as I described before, form our destiny. So the key to success in life and in yoga, the art of working, has to do with starting on the subtle level of our existence and purifying it, reforming it, and that means our mind, so that our mind becomes our friend. So man means mind, and then tra means to reform. It means to purify. So the mantra is a sound vibration that's passed down through many generations, and it has an intentionality behind it and a syntax which connects us with a higher reality and a higher quality of existence. So by repeating the mantra, then we come in contact with the higher realm. So that's the theory behind it. Now, let's start with trying a mantra that's one syllable, which you're all familiar with probably already, but it's Om, and it's pronounced Om. And I'm going to hit a middle C here on my Casio, so that let's just see if this is a good place for everyone to start. Middle C. JM, does that work for you?
Yes.
It does? Josh? It's okay? Christine?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Low sound, I think.
Pardon me?
Just the volume.
Yes.
Little.
More?
It sounds like a cruise ship is leaving.
It is. You're getting ready to go. Get on the boat. Okay, so here we go. Let's practice Om. It's one syllable, which in Sanskrit is written O-M. It's actually through the way the language works, it's originally A-U-M, but through the rules of Sandhi, through various vowels get merged together, it becomes O-M. So this is actually 3-in-1 vibration. But this is a seed mantra that synchronizes all of the spiritual energies and especially brings them to the heart chakra. And if you just vibrate the sound vibration and let it carry you, and also have it be a point at which you bring back your mind and just relax into the mantra and say it from your chest. So let's do this a few times and see how we can be self-determining in creating this kind of sound. So just sit up a little straighter than you were a second before. And that's the Sanskrit symbol for Om. And then, if you like, you can close your eyes and give full attention to the mantra. And when you're ready, take an inhale, and we can do together. So this is a very well-known mantra, one syllable. It precedes many other mantras, and it can be chanted by its self and synchronizes the energies. So we have a couple other mantras, but let's just see if anybody has any reflections about chanting the mantra Om. Anything fun you'd like to report? Jim, were you happy?
Yes, I was just thinking that somehow Om was trying to maybe, it was naturally tuned in with the way we breathe. It was like a natural sound in line with what we did.
Definitely. You can chant Om for a long time and feel really in the present moment, and very satisfied. And then you start noticing that actually there's a influence coming from the mantra. If you just sit by yourself, try to concentrate on your breath, it's a struggle because the mind is so willful, it pulls off in different directions. But when you accompany your breath with Om and you have that vibration going through you, it's actually having an influence, a higher energy that's coming into your mental system and into your physical body too. Vikas wrote here that it calms me down. Yes, there's a calming effect.
Yeah, it also, I forgot to mention, it does help mind focus as well. It was very much focused on the O and the syllables, two syllables, or rather, the two sounds that it makes.
Nice. What other thoughts do you all have? What was it like anyway? Were you able
I
to?
actually,
Yeah. Yes.
sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
So, everybody has different vocal cord, and like when we initiate this Om, right? I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be in different pitch, right?
Yeah.
Some might have a higher pitch, some might have for men especially will have a deeper voice, will probably have a lower pitch. So from a different level of course, I'm pretty sure you chant this a million times already. Have you noticed that if there's any different effect in a different pitch when you try it, does it particularly calm you down like in a faster pace rather than, one pitch over another? Just curious.
Well, it's a really good point because when there's group chanting, there's this, you try to accommodate those who have different starting points on the scale. Because not everyone, as you mentioned, starts from the same pitch. That's why I picked a middle C. But yeah, we do notice that not so much that it has a different effect necessarily because of the pitch, but just more from a physical accommodation point, finding the place that everyone can join in. Sometimes someone will start and you'll think like, where do I get way low or way high to try to accommodate? I find that a middle C that is usually the best bet, for accommodating everybody. But the effect is not changed that much by the initial pitch, from what I've noticed.
So
Vernetta
it
said it was a bit too high for me. I'm sorry, go ahead, Christine.
so it sounds like it would be best to go with your own natural, comfortable
Yeah,
thing. Right.
definitely. You
Okay.
find where you're at. So let's see. Vernetta. Let's just see if we can. Here's A, B. That's B. There's Vernetta. What's this like for you, Christine? Vernetta said that's a good spot.
To me, it was a little when you do the C, it was a little bit sounds a little high for me because I'm more used to hearing the Om in a lower kind of key, like in a
About
deeper.
this.
Yeah, kind of like that, more and like that, because I'm
That's
more
A.
familiar in like how people ring the bell and then kind of circle around, that kind of sound.
Yes.
So I'm more familiar to that. So when you do a C, it sounds a little high
The
to me,
bells are
not
all
too familiar.
sure. The bells are all tuned also. So
Right,
when
that's
people
for
get
sure.
those bells, they try to find the ones that will be able to accommodate. It's not so easy
Right.
in a group. So,
Yeah.
but Vernetta liked it one note down, and so we can experiment with that. Any other
Right.
thoughts? What was it like? If you're sitting at home and you're chanting Om, are other people around saying, "What are you doing over there?"
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Look, it's
Just
Manu.
listening in.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, they were just listening in the background, wondering what I was doing.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of fun. Okay, great. Nice. Manu, were you going to say something or did you just peeking in? Good to see you.
Just speaking in.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, so now a couple other mantras. Bring it to another level. The next mantra is a Nitai Gauranga. And this mantra is a little further up on the yoga tree. Would say that the Om, which is one syllable, is like a seed. And once that seed is planted and it starts to grow, there are branches, there's fruits that come out of the tree. So the next two mantras are more like the fruit, and there's a little more taste to it and a little more variety. As they say, variety is the mother of enjoyment. So this mantra is actually invoking the avatars Nitai and Gauranga, who remove all obstacles on the path of meditation and yoga, and also help us to feel compassion for others. Because this is a very high emotion. It's a spiritual emotion to feel compassion for others. The opposite of that is feeling envy of others, envious of their differences, envious of their accomplishments and so forth. But Nitai and Gauranga brings out that very deep spiritual emotion that we have of having compassion for others. So this mantra, I'm going to try it starting off from a slightly lower key so that we can try to harmonize. It's a B. Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga, 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 Nitai Gauranga. How's the chanting going for everyone so far?
It was good. I felt that the change in pitch kind of made me a little bit more mindful and in the moment on the chants.
Excellent. That's what I was hoping for, to find a pitch that would resonate a little more. Thanks, BJ. That really helps. I'm happy. How's it going for everybody else chanting?
I felt like synchronized. It was like chanting really, it was really nice. I love it.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
was my first time
is that right?
with this one. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, sometimes when we do there's two ways of chanting. One is called japa. You can do it by yourself, which seems to be like a good idea these days. Because somehow or other, we've gotten isolated and it's a time to experiment on our own consciousness and so forth. And so japa means the individual chanting. So you can experiment as much as you like. And I guarantee you, the more you experiment, the more the mantra will reveal to you the mysteries of the world and of your inner self. It's very beneficial, very powerful for your spiritual fitness. Just experiment with the mantra. That's why I started with so much philosophy, to sort of say that this is not just whimsical thinking or something that's made up. There's actually a science behind it. There's a technology to this, if you will. And then there's this other kind of chanting that we're kind of doing now, which is called Kirtan or Sankirtan. So Kirtan means to chant, but Samkirtan means to chant together. Like you just noticed that there's a kind of power in the group, even though, we're not feeling all the presence of everybody so much. We know everyone's there, but it's a much more powerful thing when you sit in a group and then you do the chanting together. There's a kind of call and response. And we do with instruments and so forth. And it can be extremely edifying doing in a group. Thanks, Mary. Anybody else?
We do have a comment from Rashmi on Zoom chat.
Oh,
Doing great, very calming.
okay. Going great. All right. That's good. All right. Let's try the next mantra. We'll bring it up to the next mantra, which is called the Maha Mantra. Maha means all-inclusive. And it means that this is a mantra which is mentioned in one of the ancient books called the Upanishads. Upanishad means that when you get curious about yourself, like what are we? Where did we come from? And solving the big problems of life, not just the economic problems or the food problems, which are naturally solved anyway by for animals. They don't seem to have a hard time with those types of things. Humans can ask much bigger questions and get them solved. So the Upanishads then start to answer bigger existential questions, metaphysical questions. And within the Upanishads, there are these mantras that become the channels to actually connect us to the higher realms. So this is what a perfective sound vibration sounds like. It's channeled to us. The avatar of the mantra actually appears through the mantra and gives us a portal or a door through which we can experience a higher realm, a higher stratum. And so the mantra goes like this: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you'll notice that it's a very enticing mantra. It's a kind of a mystical sound that's hard to put your finger on, like why it sounds so interesting. And if you're hearing that and taking kind of an interest, your mind starts to get attracted to it. That's the beginning point of mantra meditation, where you're getting some traction, where you start getting interested in the mantra. When you chant and you're not listening to the mantra, you can be thinking about your taxes or the next stimulus package, or whatever everybody gravitates towards these days because of the other sound vibrations coming into our life. Then we may not be able to enter deeply within the mantra. So there is a little work required, and that is to bring your attention to the mantra as you're saying it. So let's try this mantra, the Maha Mantra. And let's see if we can do some Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that last part was more like Kirtan than it was japa. With japa, you can just use your own voice and repeat the syllables and listen. Let's get some last reflections from the hour that we just spent together. Anything that stuck, because it'll be good to hear anything, any little fragments or realizations, anything you heard that you're going to put on your pocket. And if anybody asks you, what was that guy talking about on there? This is the one thing you'll pull out. Go ahead, Christine.
I was gonna say for the last chant that we just have, for some reason, I got goosebumps. I don't know if that's even normal.
That's,
like I can't help it. I try
yeah.
to calm myself down, but like, stop, no goosebumps. But I just keep getting it.
These are otherworldly mantras, and sound vibration, as we already established, has its very particular effects. There are consequences from every sound. These are sounds that have been passed down from a higher stratum, and so if you have various reactions, you can catalog those. And I recommend that you keep trying it, because that's just the very, very beginning of putting your toe in the water. Thank you for sharing that. It means a lot. Let's hear a few more reflections. What else did you take away from the hour? We just spent an hour of your valuable life here, and I'm so grateful that you tuned in. So let's hear what you're taking away.
Yeah, thank you. This is new to me. I was wondering what the difference is, what it brings to it, like as opposed to just listening to a mantra, as opposed to producing the sound your own self.
I would say, from my perspective, it's more active when you say it. Just as if you're listening to a conversation and then you enter in, when you enter into the conversation by saying something, you're expressing your intentions. So that when you're actually saying it yourself, it's a little more active and intentional. And when you're listening, it's a little more passive. So you can experiment with both things and see if that matches up with your experience too. Does that sound kind of accurate?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for joining.
I have a comment from Facebook from Bhaktin Rafael.
Yes?
When the Maha Mantra was being chanted, I felt like nothing else matters.
Yeah, this is actually true. So many things matter to us throughout the day, and they're pulling our attention this way and that way and this way, and then we feel a sense of anxiety because there's so many things we can't do anything about, and they're just fragmental ideas that we have imprinted in our head because of the other sounds we're hearing. And many of them are defective sounds. So when you introduce this perfective sound, you're able to not only amend some of those other defective sounds, but you're also able to feel the presence. When we talk about being in the now, the mantra brings you right in that position. So you can feel that you exist, you always will exist, and you're right here now. Let's take one more.
I think one of my big takeaways from today is to be more mindful of the radio, because sometimes I'll just leave the radio on and I'll hear a song, like maybe I don't like the artist, but I'll tune it out.
Yeah.
Or I'll be more diligent with this skip feature on Spotify.
Yeah, it's a good point, BJ. Thanks a lot. It's one of the points in our 21 days fitness challenges. Whenever you expose yourself to the media, do it really intentionally. Like if you're going to go on social media, decide ahead of time why you're going there. Go on your mission and come back. Don't go mindlessly on. And same thing if you're going to watch TV or the radio or listen to the radio, that is. be careful. Like, what are you taking in? This is one of the first steps in yoga is rearranging your listening patterns, because that will make all the difference in the world. Thanks. That was a really nice direction for us all to end on. JM, thank you very much for organizing this. Great to see all the stalwarts joining us, and thank you for anybody who came in for the first time or is new. Really great to have you. We'll see you back next week if everything is still spinning on Earth. And keep the transcendental vibration going. Try to experiment with amending your sound a little bit and with the mantra. And it'd be great to hear from you what realizations you have next week. Thank you very much.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.